The Oscars are incredibly racist, more so than ever before. Now, while in the past there were some things that certainly were influenced by race, but now it's 100% influenced by race. It is the most racist choice that they could have made in order to award the awards to what are supposed to be the best things, which should go to anybody who happens to be the best. But the Oscars have basically guaranteed that not to be the case. And here to talk about it with me today, I have a special guest from Ascendant Art, Little Chad. Hey,
Hello, Culture. Thanks for having me on.
yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for being here. I think people may be familiar with you, but if not, do check out all of the crew over at Ascendant Art. They do a weekly Friday podcast as well as some gaming here and there, so you can definitely find them having some fun on those two channels. But I want to talk to you specifically because you have a background in the movie business and you also have a background in finance and in many many other things. So I think your expertise on this is demanded for such an inflammatory subject, and it is inflammatory because I don't think I'm being hyperbolic, and I don't think you as the audience will find that I am either. But to check me is going to be this guy right here. Do you think I'm being a little bit hyperbolic at all?
No, no, not at all. In fact, the story we're going to talk about, I remember when they first announced the rules, I think was it several years back, that it was logically predicted this would be the end result, that there would be a massive sweeping number of movies that would not even qualify under the Academy's rules now that they were putting in under their DEI policies.
Yeah, and to that end, here it is. I mean, more than 36%, that's more than a third of films that are eligible, qualifying films, are not eligible for Best Picture because they didn't mark all the check boxes. This is exactly what was predicted. Jordan over at World of Real is writing this story, doing a great job over there, by the way. There will be 323 feature films eligible for the upcoming Academy Awards. The AMPAS announced on Monday, though a whopping 36% of them, 116, that's 116 films, Chad.
Yep. A third is 30, 33,
I
33 and a third.
I
So this
know.
is 3% more than that. They're moving in that they keep moving in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I mean, they're guaranteeing that there won't be a level playing field or people that actually earn things they deserve, because if you're gonna leave out a third of films, you're basically reducing merit to non-existent at this
I don't
point, right?
I'd love to see the list because I have a sneaking suspicion the 36% leans heavily towards movies that actually earned money at the
Money.
box office too, which
Yeah.
is because the one thing you can count on with Hollywood is they won't give a rat's ass when it comes to their bottom line. So if it's a tentpole movie, they are not going to care about the AMPA's
No.
requirements for producers and line workers and gaffers and everything else being representative as a percentage of the population of the United States and also including people who check other boxes as
Right.
appropriate.
Right. I mean, you end up with a lot of overrepresentation here. And mind you, this is just for Best Picture, but it is outlining just how incredibly race driven and racist these awards have now become. So the reason behind disqualifying vary. In some cases, filmmakers did not attempt to qualify. That's fair. But many of the disqualifications were due to the new equity or eligibility rules. Excuse me. I inserted my own word there, that require Best Picture candidates to meet diversity and inclusion benchmarks. Why? Those are artificial metrics, and they aren't even necessarily representing who's in front of the camera. And it isn't necessarily representing the people that are behind the camera either. It's a lot of below the line that, you know, make you eligible to qualify. Am I wrong about that, Chad?
No, it's the because they knew this is the hypocrisy of Hollywood. They knew they wouldn't be able to get away with requiring in front of the camera talent to follow these rules. So what they did is in order to give the studios a way to still qualify, they made it as a percentage of your entire crew. So that would mean your catering staff, your like I said, gaffers, set builders, costume designers, associate producers, everybody as a whole. That is where they're looking at these numbers for qualification. Now, that's all fine and good, but it also means that they're opening up. I know you've covered this previously too, with some of the work that some good legal scholars are doing, but the AMPA, by putting these requirements in, which effectively forces studios, if they're going to qualify for their Oscar contending movies, to follow these rules, I think that you can make an easy legal jump to say that they are just doing what is considered reverse discrimination, or just discrimination under the EEOC policies, which say you cannot have any race based requirements for employment. And so the way they'll get around it is Warner Brothers or Disney will say, well, we didn't put those in. These are the PAs, the Academy for Motion Picture Arts and Sciences requirements. And that's sure, but Sony Picture Classics, or the 20th Century brand that they're keeping at Disney for for Oscar stuff, they're only going to make movies designed to win awards. So they're green lighting and funding only to win
Y-
awards.
y-
They're
I don't.
keeping people from jobs.
Yeah, exactly, and I don't see them being able to even win under that argument that you suggest, because it could be argued that if any of their films win Best Picture, they can immediately be attacked for discrimination because they did that so they could win this award, which means that there is discrimination in hiring, which is illegal. There's not gonna it's not gonna matter, but it is going to illustrate very clearly that the only reason he made a film this way was to discriminate on the basis of acquiring an award, which means that you selectively collected people that would check all the boxes for that award, which means you did selectively choose people based on race or whatever minority status they may have, and you're screwed, because if your film qualified in this way, you already discriminated. It's proven. And I'm sorry. I see a clever attorney going at him with this, and I think that the Supreme Court, because of their recent ruling, just what, a year and a half, 2 years ago, year ago, whatever it was, is basically going to come right at this, and it'll be based on exactly as you suggest. The EEOC will be able to, I just go to
Yeah,
work on
this
them.
the Supreme Court has telegraphed under the Roberts Court specifically a complete commitment to ending race-based quotas
Mhm.
or any of that type of discrimination. They just recently did that with I think it was Harvard, with some of their admission practices. John Roberts is famous because, as the Chief Justice, he can choose to write majority opinions when he wants to, and he wrote in the majority opinion that ended affirmative action in higher education.
Yep.
And the famous quote was, "The way to stop discriminating on the basis of race is to stop discriminating on the basis of race."
Yes.
So it's definitely, there's probably at least right now, the way the court is made up, 5 or 6 solid votes if this ever got there. I don't know that it would ever get to that level of appeal,
Well,
because I think the no court could reasonably find that they're not doing this kind of
Well,
stuff.
it'd be a fun way to take the California circuit out of play, because it would basically mute and make them more, or less reliable for precedent opinions. But that doesn't matter regardless. I just want to point out that there are a bunch of films that certainly wouldn't qualify for Best Picture anyway. They suggest here Madam Web, which was terrible. Harold and the Purple Crayon, which was terrible, and Sonic 3, which is an animated movie, which isn't going to get Best Picture anyway. I mean, it's no Disney classic like the original 1937 Snow White. Then again, there are respectable films out there like Bird and Woman of the Hour and Magnus von Horns and The Girl with the Needle and Universal Language and all of those, right? But none of those qualify either, because they didn't meet the checkbox mafia's demands.
Well,
So I
it speaks
guess.
to I was going to say, it speaks to just the silliness of the academy and how they come up. I mean, the academy on the one hand wants to push these diversity quotas and all these things. On the other, they're ashamed of their past, where they did very early award Academy Awards to African Americans. I mean, Hattie McDaniel
Yeah.
won Best Supporting Actors in 1939
Yeah.
for Gone with the Wind,
Yeah.
and because it was a role they now feel is shameful for some, they just want to bury that.
Yeah.
The Song of the South, which is
Yeah.
a movie that Disney just pretends doesn't exist.
Yeah.
The Academy loved the performance so much they created a special Oscar for the lead actor in
Yeah.
that. And again, we pretended that the Academy can't even be bothered to acknowledge those awards now because they feel like they were bad. it it's just lacking context in history, and the Academy is going to pretend that they were somehow always on the right side of history when they make these changes. It reminds me of when George Clooney won that Oscar and he gave the really pompous speech about how the Hollywood was always ahead of the curve in being so progressive and helpful to everybody, to the point where South Park made fun of it in their famous Smug episode. But the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Science, all they're doing is they were trying. It was at the height of like Me Too and some of these other progressive agendas peaking, especially under the first Trump administration, that they put these quotas in place. And I don't think that they're going to be long for this world because they have to face a reckoning of being relevant or keeping these agendas. And I don't know if they're going to be able to. Disney seems to be slowly turning the ship and wanting to actually make dollars now instead of hemorrhaging them. So that Oscar telecast, if it's not relevant, is a lot of bleeding money that Disney can't afford to just keep sitting there.
Yeah, and I think that that's not it. I mean, I mean that not the only thing I should say. I mean, that's definitely one of the areas. But again, the Academy is all about covering things up, and they have been for a long time. Considering the fact that the Oscar that was supposedly accepted by the not Indian person on stage, Sasheen, whatever her name was, she was not an American Indian. She wasn't a Native American. She did not deserve, or nor did she um, earn or she wasn't born into being Native American. And that, after being revealed for a very long time, there's still a display up there all about her in that moment where she accepted the award for Marlon Brando. And that was supposedly a historic moment until it was debunked and then largely pursued by, believe it or not, myself and Paulie from Latino Slant when we interviewed her sister, who debunked the whole idea that she had any native blood at all. So the what did they do? The Academy still has that up in their museum, and if they haven't corrected it or fixed it or anything. And they have a history for covering up the moments in history that they really should be proud of, but they try to hide because they think it makes them look bad. This is an example of them looking bad. Anyway, I'll give you the final thoughts here, Chad. Do you think that this will resolve itself within the next couple of years, 1 year? Do you think it's going to take longer?
I think that the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences, the same people who trusted and awarded Harvey Weinstein multiple Academy Awards as a producer over decades, can be counted on to always work in their own self interest first. So once this starts becoming a problem for their bottom line, I think they will creatively abandon some of these policies. As the first time a major movie that people think should be nominated isn't, they'll either give it a waiver, be like, oh yeah, well this one is so different, we're just going to waive it. There was extenuating I think that's going to be the compromise. They'll
And
just give waivers as needed.
then that opens them up to giant lawsuits.
Yeah, I mean, as long as someone has the guts to do it. I mean, it would
I
take somebody who's effectively willing to punt their career
Well, I don't
to
think you need
file that
it
suit.
would no, it would just be a studio. The studio could actually file. And I think it'll get to that point. I do believe that some studios are gonna wanna stand out. The partially Chinese owned future of Skydance and Paramount. Could you imagine Paramount bringing that suit against the Academy? I can. I think it'll happen sooner rather than later, but I think the
Yeah.
Academy will get wise ahead of time. because I think they see the writing on the wall that the American public, to the tune of enormous numbers, have zero interest in their neo-Marxist agenda. But anyway, thank you for being here to set me straight. I really appreciate it, Chad. You want to say something quickly about what you do before we bail out of here?
Yeah, I mean, I co-host a show every Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, the Send an Art podcast. If you guys could check it out, maybe subscribe, tune in, that'd be awesome, and hope to see you there in chat.
All right, and thank you for that, Chad. As always, I'll say it this way. You come here to get information, you come here to get opinion, but you also come here to hit the like button. If you haven't done that already, please do so. And if this is your first time here or your thousandth and you are not subscribed to the channel, like 61% of people that watch the videos, please take the time to take advantage of a free subscription offer right down below. Click on the red subscribe button, turn it to gray, and hit the notification bell. Turn them all on so you don't miss anything. 1 to 5 pieces of content, live stream, video, whatever it happens to be, each and every day, unless I'm out of town or ill. Other than that, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya for real.